everybody, this is M, one of the proud owners and operators of the Fleapit movie theater. I swear to you that this is not a costume. I am just very tired because the midnight premiere of The Batman just ended at 6 a.m. and we have to start showing the film again for all of the matinees very soon. So I've been up for a very long time. As you know, like all the businesses right now, the Fleapit is a little bit short-staffed. So we don't have a lot to work with, and I have seen The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves and starring Robert Pattinson, Zoe Kravitz, and other people quite a few times. Oh yeah, Paul Dano's in it, and that other guy who I will get to. So what can I do for you? So I've seen this movie a few times, and as part of our Fleapit community outreach program, I decided that I would talk about it. You might be wanting a formal review of kind of the important aspects of a film, like the directing and the acting and the mise-en-scène for all of you cinephiles out there. And I actually prepared that for you, but the important thing I want to talk about, I'll actually get to in a minute. So I'll actually just read to you my review and my thoughts.
Hear everything they say, ain't you?
Maybe we're not so different. Who are you under there?
I'm a rich vampire. I'm Gerard Way.
Overall, it's a very well-made film, but we both felt that it suffered from its own talent. The ability for the writer-director Matt Reeves to create a very dark and cramped and really delightfully unsettling story and aesthetic, unfortunately, leaves little room for any release that may give audience members the energy to endure the nearly 3-hour runtime. And let me tell you, I cannot reiterate enough that I really thought this movie was well done, but I felt like I was watching a mini-series. I don't like to go into movies, especially that are as hyped up as this, knowing a lot of information. Q is normally the one who goes into films with that information. I just put the reels in the thing and put the SD card in the thing and hit play on the computer and let the movie go. I really don't know anything about the movies before I go into it, especially if I'm seeing it for the first time and want to really have it hyped up. I knew from some of the teasers that it was going to be very kind of dark and grungy. I like the tone. I like the really realistic take on Gotham and the realistic take on the story. Other reviewers have pointed out that this film incorporates grungy, dark elements of Fincher films like Seven and Zodiac, which I definitely saw the Seven influence in this film.
I like puzzles.
And I thought that the results of that initially were really delightful, incorporating those kind of detective-y, grungy, dirty, creepy elements into this film really worked. Gotham feels very scary, it feels very hostile, and I didn't really feel that in the Christopher Nolan films. The city still feels very clean, and it really felt like Batman was literally the last resort for the city and for saving the city from itself. And I really also buy the Riddler's reasoning for doing what he does. He doesn't feel very scary as a character. He feels more unstable than scary, but I do understand the kind of complicated morality of what he's doing, in that at times it kind of feels justified. You have these awful people running the city, and while it sucks that they're dying, and it's not really the right way to go about it, because of the way the film presents Gotham as being so corrupt and so unsavable, essentially, you kind of go along with the Riddler for a little bit. At least I did. I really kind of got to a point where I just assumed at one point they would have a conversation about the Riddler being right or not. I don't remember it happening that way in the film. So we're gonna get into spoilers right now. The Riddler becomes really lost in the film. They basically have a few different moving targets. You have the Mafia target, you have the Riddler target, and you do have to solve one mystery before solving the other, but so much time was spent on the Mafia, and that's so tied into Batman's background that it got to a point where I was like, where is the Riddler? Oh gosh, this movie's been going on for a long time and we still need to wrap up his storyline. And once the Riddler's message is kind of revealed and his goal is revealed, initially there's a lot of mystery behind it, and you don't know what he's doing and the scale and the scope of what he's doing. And then when it's revealed, it feels very similar to Scarecrow's mission or Bane's mission of kind of making the city eat itself, because there's no other way to save Gotham than by destroying it first.
Any of this mean anything to you?
You big, fat, white, nasty, smelling, fat.
So it didn't feel very fresh and new. It felt a little bit of a generic action movie premise when it was set up to be so different than any other Batman film. As part of the Fleapit community outreach, sometimes we really need to hammer in the film criticism. You know, we want people to think we know what we're doing over here. So my main gripe with this film, really, I will read. The film is like a beautifully decorated, sealed room that slowly suffocates its audience and leaves you gasping for something, anything, other than impeccable set dressing and air that is quickly becoming stale. Scenes are relentlessly punctuated by musical stings that, at first, give an impeccable sense of unease to the film and then eventually fade into the background and only serve as an exhausting reminder that the information you are receiving is still relevant to the plot even after the main mystery is solved. The actors do a great job of taking the film and the material seriously, which is very refreshing at first. There's no banter between Bruce and Alfred, and as a result, Bruce really feels like a tortured man trying his best to save the city and stopping at nothing to do so. However, as the film continued, not only could I feel the audiences wanting something, anything to periodically relieve the tension and dark tone of the film, I felt their exhaustion as the film wrapped up, packed up, and then started up again to give us more information and set up more sequels. This film is almost as invigorating as it is exhausting and has me wishing for a cut made for TV. This film should have been 45 minutes shorter. Maybe they could have shaved off some time by shortening the beats where they linger on Wayne/Batman's tortured face.
Sorry?
I really did enjoy this movie. About 45 minutes in, I thought to myself, man, I want to see this again already. But as the film continued, I just kind of started to lose it. I think that I can only go so far with a film with that tone, and there was nothing to relieve me. I think you even look at a film as dark and as gritty and as acclaimed as The Dark Knight, and you might look at that on the surface and think, where's the relief in that? And I will say it's in the banter with Alfred. It's in Morgan Freeman's one-liners. It's in the story between Bruce Wayne and Rachel and their relationship and this kind of love triangle that gives you some time to kind of put the main intense story aside and go, okay, this is kind of a little bit lighter. I'm gonna focus on something else for a bit, and then by the time I get back to the gritty stuff, I will be ready for it. And this film really does not have that at all, and it makes it very draining. I had no energy at the end of this film to do anything, and I did enjoy it. That's kind of the issue that I have, is that I did enjoy it, but I wish that there was a shorter cut. It's just a little disappointing because I was so excited for this movie and I really wanted to like it, but it just exhausted me. And another thing that I truly cannot wrap my head around, like really the whole reason why I even wanted to bring this movie up, like I said earlier, I didn't really know who was in this film. I knew that Robert Pattinson was in it. I knew Zoe Kravitz was in it. I was watching the film, and Penguin is in the film. The Penguin, the guy who runs the club. He's in the movie, okay? And I saw him, and I was trying to place him, and I thought, I wonder who that can be. And I leaned over to Q, and I said, is that Joe Pesci? And Q, who knows more about the movie than I do, he looked at me and he said, yeah, I think so. And so I thought, okay, cool. That's Joe Pesci. He's doing his thing. Like, I'm glad he's working. He looks like they de-aged him a little bit. Like, he looks really good and he's acting. He has his gold teeth, just like his shiny teeth in Home Alone and Home Alone 2. I was super into it. And then we were getting to kind of the end of the movie, and I realized, I haven't seen Colin Farrell yet. And then the credits rolled, and I was expecting to see, of course, Joe Pesci as the Penguin. And then I saw that the Penguin was, in fact, not played by Joe Pesci. The Penguin was, in fact, played by Colin Farrell. And I am upset about this, not in like a way where I'm truly upset, but in a way of I'm genuinely like flabbergasted when these kinds of decisions are made. So like, okay, take House of Gucci. They put Jared Leto in a rubber suit, but he's playing like a real person who did look a certain way, and Jared Leto, like you can still sort of see his eyes, and if you've seen him in other movies, you're kind of like, okay, like it's Jared Leto. When in a situation like that, you put an actor in a rubber suit, you make them look different, but they are still in there. But with Colin Farrell, they didn't make him look like Penguin. They made him literally look like Joe Pesci. I don't see a way around it. Even his voice sounds kind of like Joe Pesci.
Hiya, pal.
Take it easy, sweetheart.
Why don't you just hire Joe Pesci and de-age him? Or like, I haven't heard anything about Joe Pesci in this movie. I hope he's getting like royalties or something. Maybe in like the 80s or 90s, maybe like, was there a rumor going around that he would be a great Penguin, but then they didn't hire him, they hired Danny DeVito instead, and so people were like, justice for Joe Pesci, and there was this whole movement to like make him Penguin somehow, even if he's not physically in the movie as Penguin, because I understand like he's getting older. I don't understand why the studio would cast one actor in a role, and in order to make him look like that character, they make him just look like another actor and act like another actor and sound like another actor. So, this movie. The good parts, the bad parts, and the in-between. Considering all of those parts that made me go like, I like this movie, I want to like see it again right away, this is so dark and so cool that they're doing this, and some of the shots are so neat. the confusion I felt with Joe Pesci and the frustration I felt with just how long this movie went on and how long it felt because of the dark tone and the inability to give the audience a break. I mean, the audiences have been clapping every time the movie ends, so like, okay, maybe that means they like it, or maybe it's just kind of the whole thing of like, oh, that was a Batman movie. That was so great. I mean, I've been surprised before about people's reactions to superhero movies, Batman v Superman especially. There were a lot of people who were good friends of mine who I really liked, who really loved that movie, and I could not stand that movie. And I like this movie more than Batman v Superman. Absolutely. I thought Robert Pattinson did a great job. I thought Zoe Kravitz did a great job. I thought Joe Pesci did a great job. I thought that the other people did a great job. I thought that Paul Dano acted. There was a lot of moaning in this movie on Paul Dano's behalf, which is fine. Like, he's being creepy, he's tortured. I did think he did a good job. I bought him as the Riddler. He's like this disturbed guy. I get it, but I don't know. I just thought it was, all the moaning on his behalf was just kind of funny. And I kind of had a little bit of anger towards him in that movie because he just kept coming up over and over again, and I was like, I want to leave work and I want to go home and go to bed. This movie is so long. And I know Spider-Man is long, but even like that extra 30 minutes is just like so long. I think that we will end up keeping this in theaters for a month. A month. No longer, no shorter. Yeah, that's Batman. Now, I think it's time that I go to bed. Fleapit will be back. We will be showing more movies. We did make actually a lot of money from showing this film, so we'll be, we're still kicking around for another month or two, so that's nice. These blockbusters like this are always great, but having one screen, I don't even know how we're gonna fit in any of the Oscar contenders. Oh well. Film is like a, as I wrote very gracefully,